Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing the descriptive questions from Madhava Maths competition held in January 2019. So this Madhava Maths competition is actually a national level competition for undergraduate students. It is jointly organized by SP College, Pune and Homeopathy Center for Science Education, Mumbai. The website is madhavacompetition.in. This is the 13th year of the competition, and there are 23 different regions all over India where it is going to be held. Now, before we start, I start discussing the questions. Few points. That is, please have the writing material with you, pen, pencil, something, and paper, notebook. And whenever asked to pause during the video, please pause the video and try to solve on your own. All right. Yeah. So let's get into the questions. Question number one, descriptive question. Please read the question. It says that find all polynomials px which satisfies some condition for all real numbers x. Now, how to begin, where to begin? So whenever polynomial is there, and then there is some equation in terms of polynomials, so we would like to start with degree. So let's take the degree of the polynomial px as n. Then try to compute the degree of these two polynomials. See what is the degree of the left hand side polynomial and what is the degree of right hand side polynomial. You can pause the video and do this computations. I'm going ahead. So px square, the degree will be 2n, whereas if I look at px plus 1, it will remain as n, and hence when I multiply by x, the degree will be increased by 1. But since these two are equal, all right, of course 1 plus this will have same degree, but when these two are equal, the degrees should match, and that gives us some very important information that 2n must be same as n plus 1, and that forces us to have n equal to 1. This actually is going to resolve the problem, or rather take down the problem to simply, we know that now it's a degree 1 polynomial, so we can actually write its general form. Can you write it? Try. So it's simply ax plus b, where a is non-zero because it's degree 1. All right, so a is the leading coefficient. Now you got the form, so put the values and in the left side, compute right side, and then see what you get. So do it uh, on your own and check it out. Let me do it now. So it is here. This is the, computations, and finally after simplifying everything, what we are going to get is this. But this is true for each x, for each real number x, and that forces us to have each of these coefficients to be 0. Okay, now once you get this is going to give us the values, because this is going to give me a equal to 1. A cannot be 0. A is non-zero, hence a will be 1, and that will give me the value of b, the second equation, and thus you are done. You got the polynomial. So this is the first question. Let me move to the second question. This is needs to be read. What is defined is a transposition on a of a vector. So what is a transposition? By switching exactly two distinct entries. Remember, distinct entries, okay, of vector x. Now here anyways the example is having distinct entries, so 3 and 2 are being interchanged. Okay, 2 3, this is a transposition of uh, this vector. Okay, so ideally I can say these two are exchanged, and we got this. Now what the question is, find a vector x if it is given that all the vectors below are transpositions of x. So after, you know, interchanging exactly two entries, I got s. Exactly two entries, I got t. Exactly two other entries, I got u, v, and w. This is the question. Then I want to find the vector x. Now the idea, you can think, you can pause the video, think and try it out. Let me share the solution. So starting point is, let's fix up some x as notations x1, x2, x8. we want to find out, determine all these 8 entries. But if you observe carefully, all these transpositions have got exactly 4 ones and 4 zeros. That see, and what we are doing, transposition means only interchanging. So the number of ones and number of zeros will remain same. So x should have exactly 4 ones and 4 zeros. That is the first thing. So amongst these 8 entries, there are 4 ones and 4 zeros. That's it. Okay. Now immediately one can write that if I take a kind of dot product, I should get the number of ones, that is 4 in fact. So this must be 4. But xi square is same as xi in our case, because xi's are either zeros or ones. So I get this summation xi to be 4. Now if I have any other say vector y which has all ones, can you tell me what will be x dot product y? Y has all ones. Yeah, so it's going to be 4 in fact, because x has got exactly 4 ones. Now you take any transposition actually of x, not just permutation but transposition of what it does, it exchanges exactly 1 0 and 1 1, because it is exchanging the distinct entries, and there are only two distinct entries in my x, either they are 0 or 1. So exchanges exactly 1 0 and 1 1. So if you take the dot product x dot s, x dot t, all these dot products, that is with s. So what are these s, t, u, v, w? They are all transpositions, means exactly one is getting, it has got swapped with 1 0. So if I take the dot product with x, okay, then amongst these four ones, exactly one place there is a 0 in x, right? And so the dot product always is going to be 3. This is another key observation. Now once you have this, I think one can now get the equations. X dot s is 3, so that will give me x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x8 as 3. Then x dot t will give me this equation, and the remaining you can write independently on your own. And now you try to solve these, try to solve, pause the video, try to solve these equations and get some values or some information about exercise. So I'm going ahead solving these. What we get is this this kind of information. But now what we can do is we can use, say, this equation. So x1, x4 and x8 are all equal. They cannot be 0, because if they are 0, x4 x7 cannot be 3. Okay, they are either 0 or 1. That means these three must be 1 and x7 must be 0. So I get this. So I got 4 entries. Now use the fact that summation xi is 4. So summation xi is 4. These entries are known. Now that will give me this kind of information. x2, x3, x5, x6 is 0 is 1, right? And now I mean, this is finally going to give me the values. You need to try it out, solve it out, but I hope you can handle that, and that will give me finally what x is. So that is what question 2 is about. Let's move to question number 3. It's about complex numbers as such. um, so what the question is, in the complex plane, let's take u and v to be distinct solutions of this. Okay, distinct solutions of this. Then we want to find some probability, mod u plus v bigger or equal to 1. Now look at this equation. So let's take a general equation, z raised to n minus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so we are just trying to talk about roots of unity. So z raised to n minus 1 equal to 0 I'm just taking, and then there is a standard form that u and v takes, we know that. So let's take that standard form. U is e raised to I 2 pi k by n, and v is this for some m and k different, because u and v are distinct. Okay, and they are between 0 to 2018. Okay, 0 less than or equal to m, k less than or equal to 2018. Right, now let's look at, now the key statement is coming, that is mod u plus v can be written as mod u into 1 plus v by u mod. This is the key statement. Now mod u is 1, so you are ending up with this, and now you can use e raised to I theta is cos theta and I sin theta plus I sin theta. So simplify this, and now you can actually compute the absolute value. It is square root of 2 plus 2, 2 cos some angle m minus k and all, because of v by u. And now this I want it to be bigger or equal to 1. Mod u plus v bigger or equal to 1. Now that will, so square root of something bigger or equal to 1, that will happen if and only if this needs simplification. Try it out. I want you to try to reach. You can pause the video and try it out. Okay. But then this can be again, so if I want cos of something to lie between minus half and half, then this angle should lie between minus 2 pi by 3 to 2 pi by 3. And this will finally simplify further. 2 pi will get cancelled, and I am ending up with this condition on m and k. All right, that m minus k by n lies between these two. Now we are asked in particular for n equal to 2019. So for n equal to 2019, what the condition will become? So I will multiply throughout by 2019, and I get it as something like minus 673 and 673. In between m minus k should lie. So now k can take how many values? K can take all 2019 values. 0 say 2018. And for each value of k, how many values m can take? M can take something like 2 times 2 times 673 values. Understand? And hence I have total possibilities for m as these many, and for k 2019 possibilities. So overall 2 into 673 into 2019 possibilities are there, for which mod u plus v bigger or equal to 1. I want probability. So without any restriction, how many, I mean, possibilities u and v are having? 2019 into 2018, right? And hence the probability becomes this. Okay, so this becomes the final answer for question 3. I'm just moving fast to question number 4. uh, Pause the video, read the question, and then look at the, I mean, try it out and look at the discussion. Okay, so this, once you read the question, it should immediately give us a smell that we should be applying mean value theorem, right? Okay, f dash is involved, function is continuous, differentiable and all. So this is going to, this suggests to apply mean value theorem somewhere. Let's see. So what I can do is, to which function it is to be applied is the key idea. So apply it to FOF. So if I apply it to FOF, what will happen now? So first of all, g of a you can compute. It is going to be a, and g of b is going to be b. This can be checked. And so when I apply mean value theorem, what I get is a point C between a and b, such that gb minus ga upon b minus a is g dash c. That is f dash of f of c. So f dash of f of c times f dash c is 1. Okay, this is what I got. Now if f of c and c are different, then we are done. So my case 1 is f c is not equal to c. Then this one I will take as my x1, this one I can take as my x2, and I'm done. So then choose x1 as c, whatever, and x2 as fc, and you got f dash, you got what you want. If f of c is equal to c, then what you do is you break this interval ab into two intervals and apply LMVT individually. See what happens. So I means please pause the video and try it out on your own and check the computations. So try it out. I'm going ahead. We get x1 in a to c, x2 in c to b, such that this happens. But now what is f of c? F of c is c, f of a is a, so this becomes 1. And same thing for f dash x2, it becomes 1, and hence the product becomes 1. So this is question number 4. And the last question, question number 5. Pause the video, read the question, think on it. There is no information about f and g like continuous, differentiable, vagara. Nothing is given. Only this is what is given to us. So it's a very interesting question to play with. So somewhere some composite and some properties of these x raised to 2018 and 2019 may be used. Okay, so let's see how to handle this solution. So suppose possible, of course, we go by method of contradiction. So suppose there exists some functions with this happening. Now, what I can do is either I apply g on this or f on this and see what happens. So if I look at FOG of fx, okay, so look at FOG of fx. It is f of x raised to 2018. All right, that's what I got. Okay, so I got FOG of fx as fx raised to 2018. But now composition is associative, so I can write this as f of g composite f of x. Right, I can always write this f of g composite f of x is fx raised to 2018, but GOF is already given as x raised to 2019. This implies the key statement. This is the key statement because GOF of x is x raised to 2019. I got f of this is equal to fx raised to 2018. Okay, take a breath, you go through, you try to come, I mean, think on it and then try to see how to go ahead now. All right, so let's see. 2019 is odd, yeah, that's correct. And hence if you look at g composite f, it is x raised to 2019, and so it's going to be x raised to 2019 is always an injective map, and hence I'm going to have, so GOF is injective will imply what? Right, f is injective. And so now this is the information I have. Now you try to substitute some values in place of x and see what happens. So which values? Say 0, 1 and -1. Pause the video, put the values, write three equations and see what you get. So let me disclose. These are the values that you are going to get. F of 0 raised to 2018 is f of 0. So f0, f1 and f minus 1, okay, are satisfying such a thing. And so what um are we achieving by this? So let's see. If you look at x raised to 2018 equal to x, these are all three solutions of x raised to 2018 equal to x. But the only real solutions of this are 0 and 1. Try to find out, try to describe why is it so. So what happens is amongst these three, two of them must be same. All right, and what will happen to this after this? It will give me a contradiction because I have injectivity of f. Okay, so there is a contradiction. That means what we assumed is wrong, and hence there do not exist any such functions. Okay, so this is about the descriptive questions from part 2 of 2019 question paper. Thank you and all the best. Please apply for the competition and enjoy the problem solving. Thank you. Bye bye.